We've got 4th level spells to cover for the Shaman. Hello everyone, welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire. Today we are going to be covering the 1st edition Pathfinder Shaman and their 4th level spell selection. You may have noticed that my most adorable co-host, Atticus, apprentice storyteller and initiate to the 6th Circle of Lore, is not present with me at the moment, though he was a little bit ago. He's just a little bit in and out right now, so maybe he'll join us again. But today, like I said, we're going to be covering that spell selection. But before we get into it, if you're new here to the channel, then go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on just such an incredible roster of incredibly legendary heroes, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. Now we'll actually get into your spell selection. To start off, we have Call Lightning Storm. Works as Call Lightning but at a 400 foot plus 40 foot per level range and deals 5d6 electrical damage and deals 5d10 if you're outdoors. Again, the fact that this comes out with multiple bolts of lightning makes this much more valuable than it might seem at first. And again, the fact that electric damage is not as commonly resisted or as many outright immunities out there for creatures makes this, again, an even better blasting spell, especially pairing it with our different feat selections. Then we have Aerial Tracks. The spell area is a 100 foot plus 10 foot per level radius centered on you that lets you track where flying creatures have flown back up to 1 day per caster level. So since you pick up 4th level spells at 7th level, if say you were in an area and you had to track creatures that flew away and it was 5 days ago that they flew, because you're level 7, you still are within the spell's effective casting time necessary to pick up that trail. And the base DC to use survival in tracking creatures through the air is the same as if it's done on the ground. The spell lasts 1 hour per level, so this is a great utility spell. Cast this on yourself, on the ranger, whoever has the best survival skill and tracking ability, and you're going to be able to track opponents that otherwise would just be lost to you in many different ways. So absolutely a great spell to have handy. Then we have Spike Stones. Select one 20-foot square a level within a 100-foot plus 10 feet per level area. The rocky ground and stone floors grow spikes that blend in the background. Any creature moving through this area takes 1d8 piercing damage per 5 feet moved through it. And they must make a reflex save or gain injuries that cut their movement speed in half. This also lasts 1 hour per level, so on top of having incredible duration, affecting a massive area, and that's 7 20-foot squares when you first pick this up, that's amazing. The damage isn't much to write home about necessarily unless somebody just goes charging through it all, but the fact that they have to make reflex saves and then get their speed cut in half just makes this a great area control spell. Again, maybe not going to be effective against flying enemies, but any terrestrial bound opponents are going to have to just deal with this or find a way to circumnavigate it all. And again, these blend in, making it difficult to spot. So great spell to have to slow down a lot of opponents. Following that, though, we have Dismissal. Target one extraplanar creature in 25 feet plus 5 feet for every 2 levels. On a failed will save, the target is sent back to its home plane, although there is a 20% chance of them being sent to another plane. And so by 7th level, you're probably going to start encountering extraplanar creatures, and having this handy to deal with them outright with the casting, hopefully the casting of a single spell, means that you're going to have better odds of just outright negating a threat than having to invest significant time and resources in dealing with it, because a lot of extraplanar creatures have their own resistances, immunities. They typically have the ability to summon other creatures that are related to them, like demons can summon more demons, devils can summon more devils, and just not having to deal with all of that nonsense is great. Then we come to Glimpse of Truth. Works as true seeing, but only lasts one round and works only on you. You can only target yourself. Now, this is still not as good as true seeing. It's not a bad spell, but being able to just see through all kinds of illusory effects, disguises, all of that, that's awesome to have. Like, being able to see things as they truly are, that's invaluable knowledge to have. And even though that this spell may end up being replaced quickly by true seeing later, like next level, 5th level, if I'm remembering the shaman spell list correctly off the top of my head here, this is still just something nice to have if it turns out to be a situation where you do need it. And generally, that depends on your DM and the setting and what the adventure is in particular, but still, just having this on your list as an early means of having access to something that works like true seeing is just nice to have. Then we go to Restoration. Touch target creature after 3 rounds of casting to dispel temporary negative levels or 1 permanent negative level, although doing that costs 1,000 gold pieces in diamond dust rather than just the 100 normally incurred by casting this. This also cures all temporary ability damage or permanent ability damage on 1 ability score. Your choice which of those ability scores, if there are multiple that have been damaged. This also eliminates fatigue and exhaustion. So great for getting rid of lots of debuffs. Negative levels are just an incredible bane to have to deal with. So even though it costs 1,000 gold pieces and diamond dust, it's worth it. Worth it. Although hopefully you don't have to cast this like 5 or 6 times, because that gets to be pretty expensive. But again, better to spend the 5,000 gold pieces and get rid of 5 negative levels than just have to live with that nonsense. And then lastly here, we have Divine Power. Target self, and for 1 round a level, you gain a luck bonus to attack rolls, weapon damage rolls, strength checks, and strength-based skill checks. Now, the strength on there is only listed as a bad choice because of this particular build. We're not going for a strength-focused build, or even a build that considers strength a tertiary concern. This is our dump stat for this particular build. However, if you want to do a combat build, Divine Power is going to be the way to go. Even if you're not doing a full combat build, Divine Power is still a nice boost to help round things out. And that you get a +1 bonus to this for every 3 caster levels that you have. So that's a maximum of a +6. You also gain 1 temporary hit point per level, which is nice to have, especially since we've only got a D8 for hit points. And on a full attack action, you can make an extra attack at your full base attack bonus. This doesn't stack with other effects such as haste or speed enhancements for the extra attacks, so that won't affect things there. But still, an extra attack, bonuses to your to your ability to hit and deal damage, that's awesome. And then also you have strength checks and strength-based skill checks on top of that. That's great to have. This is a huge boost for any class that has access to it and engages in any level of combat. We're not focusing on that here for ourselves, but if you were wanting to alter the build, play around with things a little bit, and maybe build yourself as more of a combat-focused caster, this is absolutely the way to go. This is an incredible spell to have. And of course, like always, there are so many more spells that are either great, useful, interesting to keep in mind. I mean, last time it was commented that, the fly spell is absolutely essential, and that's true, it is. I didn't cover it because it is broadly essential. It is so ubiquitously essential, useful, and appears on so many spell lists. It feels a little bit repetitive to bring that up, but at the same time, it's still something that's worth mentioning, and there's only so much time I have to record and put all this together, and so you commenting your thoughts down below to recommend other spells for people, please go ahead and do that. A lot of times I'm not missing things necessarily because not always because I forgot about it, though that does happen, but also because I want to try to have a broad range of spells available to people, especially if there's interesting things on a spell list. So bear that in mind, offer up just a little bit of grace and all of that, and just also remember that these guides are just guides. Take it all with a grain of salt. These spells, while definitely effective across a wide range of situations, they're not the only ones that are always going to be effective. And as I talked about a little bit earlier, spells like True Seeing, those are, while they are incredibly useful, their use does get diminished if there's not, to use illusions as an example again, if there's not a whole lot of illusion spells, enchantments, or effects, that does cut into the effectiveness of True Seeing a fair bit there. And then if you're in an aquatic focus campaign, anything that gives bonuses to swim, lets you breathe underwater, those are going to be much more useful than if you were primarily in dungeons going across plains, mountains, and the like. And not that you wouldn't have situations where they're useful, but the usefulness does change depending on the setting and situation at hand. So all of that has to be kept in mind when you're looking at this. But then again, you're a divine spellcaster, so you can swap these out as the situation demands, as long as you're able to give yourself a day to meditate, pray, change your spell selection, so you can be much more adaptable to whatever situations are coming your way. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.